Okay.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. Just wait until Damon gives us the heads up.
No, we're on Illustrative.
Yeah, hang on a sec.
Oh, is the screen still saying nature?
Yeah, hang on a sec.
Okay. Okay. Welcome back, everyone. We're about to judge the 2018 AIPP WA Illustrative category. As the preamble to this category, illustrative photography is a general category designed to recognise photographs taken or produced to illustrate a subject or topic. Images may be conceptual or representative in nature, and examples include images taken to illustrate a magazine article, website, or a book cover, but may also be outtakes from assignments, stock photography, or part of a general personal project or creative expression. Entries into this category may be commissioned or self-commissioned. This category will be judged in two sections: illustrative photography and analogue and historical process photography. Okay, analogue and historical process entries are first generation prints, which may include fibre-based prints from negatives, carbon prints, salt prints, gum bichromate, platinum and or palladium prints, Van Dyke browns, cyanotypes, tintypes, bromoil prints, dye transfer, emulsion lifts and emulsion transfers, and chromogenic prints made through an enlarger and not as a laser image printer. Okay. The minimum size of the entry has been abolished to allow for some processes, as the film format of the camera can dictate the final image size. Post-production is limited to any changes that might be made using conventional darkroom techniques such as spotting dust and scratches, dodging and burning, and adjusting contrast and exposure. Composite images and photos with added special effects, borders or backgrounds are not permitted. Although the category is judged in two sections to assist the judges in their assessment, there is only one award. Everyone okay? Right.
Are they two separate?
They'll be judged in two separate categories. And I'm pretty certain I think we're doing the analogue first by the looks of things. Okay. Good-o. Is it okay? Sorry. Sue, I've got an error thing come up. Sorry, folks, we're just having a little technical issue, which is what happens occasionally.
Yeah, it's a sticking point with me because I'm on the which is fine because I'm on the search for a publisher, but I feel like I need to self-publish in the end. So yeah. So if there are any publishers in the audience, my name's Steve Scalone. My phone number is. Get in touch.
Steve he doesn't run a book; he produces books. Yeah, so it's not.
Yeah, so I enjoy travel and street photography, so that's kind of my genre if I don't actually work as a commercial photographer. And yeah, that's luckily I was successful enough to get the 2017 AIPP Book of the Year award last year.
Lovely.
but still no publisher.
Lovely. Just we'd like to thank the sponsor of this upcoming category once our technical issues are sorted out, and the sponsor is CR Kennedy. So a big thank you to CR Kennedy. No, not us. Yeah, I think Des has got the type of voice that carries. Yes. While we're waiting, I'll just do a few little ads. The awards cocktail party is on Thursday night at the Perth Town Hall, and you can buy tickets online. It's always a good night. See all the work, meet some people in the industry. So come and press the flesh with us and party on. Also on Sunday at Yagan Square, at the Shoe on Yagan Square at 6 p.m. will be a screening of all the work that's scored silver distinction or above. So, and there's actually going to be an exhibition of that very same work at the foyer of Perth Town Hall. Yeah, on the cocktail night. So come and have a look. The print handlers are the guys with the red bandanas. They get very thirsty, so if they come along on the awards night, make sure you buy them a drink. Whip that little mouse to run around the wheel to get the computer going. Yes. So, Rebecca, what are you up to these days? Come on, tell us.
I'm one half of Compose Photography. My business partner's taken a maternity leave, so we're been kept busy running the wheel on my own. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah. Johannes, what have you been up to? You're obviously doubling as Batman by the looks.
I'm Batman, yeah. Because always be yourself, unless you're Batman. Then always be Batman.
So did you work during the festival at all?
Yes, I work Fringe Festival every year,
Yep.
which I love doing. So I do a lot of performance. I do a little bit of street photography. Just been on holidays. I've taken a lot of holiday snaps and cool pictures. So mixed between the family snaps.
Yep.
And yes, I'm just doing a bit of teaching, a bit of commercial shooting, bit of everything, which I really enjoy. So I've been doing weddings for 12 years, and I handed in the towel last year. And so I have a bit more time to do what I consider is more fun stuff, which is really cool. Like, because I say a lot more yes to things that I previously had to say no. And I'm really enjoying myself, just sort of dabbling in whatever comes through the door, which is good that it's enough. Yeah. Gary, you want to tell us something about yourself too?
Oh, let me see what would be interesting. I did an interesting black and white nude the other day, and the nudes that I do are very tasteful. They're not actually nude. But I asked the woman what she did, and she said, "Well, actually, I'm the Deputy Police Commissioner."
Mm-hmm. Well,
so
that's
I felt
narrowed it
instantly
down.
that I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Deputy Police Commissioner for Crime and Corruption. And I said, oh. So my voice went instantly high. I said, so what kind of people are, you sort of dealing with these days? And she said, well, mainly bikies and bouncers.
Yes, indeed. Yes. So, Rachel, can you top that?
I don't know if I should tell the story, but you mentioned nudes. I accidentally took an awesome nude selfie of myself on my phone and sent it to a group chat instead of the intended person. So this is a shout out to just be aware of your nude selfie. It was an awesome shot though. There was light coming from a window. I was like, that looks good. Took it black and white. Accidental group message. That's me.
Okay, lovely. That's fine. Well, after all that, we're actually back online now. We're ready to go. So thanks for either dobbing yourself in, putting yourself out, or your general comments. So, okay, we're about to start judging the illustrative analogue and historical process. So if I could have the first print, please. That print taken, have a blank screen, thanks. Just when we thought we were up, we collapsed again. Sorry, folks, we're still just having a few technical issues. We'll hopefully be back judging the illustrative category shortly. Sorry, guys. Just keep the noise down just a little bit. We're just trying to judge next door. Thank you. I know you're all excited. Right, can everyone, can we have the print back? Thank you. Thank you very much. If everyone is free to put in their scores. Nope, sorry, Sue.
Wait, oh, you haven't pressed start judging.
Oh, okay.
Waiting to start. Why is it still saying waiting to start?
Sorry, guys. About me, I'm a nobody. Yes, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Greg Hocking. I'm a commercial photographer. I started studying photography a long time ago for all the students who are in here, back when it used to be at Mount Lawley. Mount Lawley TAFE it was in those days. And I started photography after a short career in science and nursing. And I'm a trained midwife. I did that in England as a postgraduate course, and I did spinal injury nursing at Shenton Park Annex. And it was during that period of time that I realised that I actually was in the wrong career. And I had a friend who was a photographer, and he lent me a couple of photography books. And as they say, the rest is history. And I studied photography at Mount Lawley, illustrative photography. And here I am. So this is what you look like after a 30-odd year career in photography, guys. I think you're okay, Rachel. Hooray. Okay. Can we just have the print back, please? This print scores 84 and is a silver award. Can I just have a very quick comment from Johannes, please?
One word. Hello. One word that comes to mind when I look at this print is exquisite. The tonality is beautiful. The handling of it, it's really quite impressive. I scored it higher. It's a shame I can't challenge.
Okay, thank you. Next print, please. Can we just go to a blank screen for a moment, please? Sorry, folks. We've got a major technical issue here that is really creating a problem. So hopefully that'll be sorted out by Sue shortly, and we'll be back into it. How many students of photography do we have in the room? Fantastic. Just about everyone. God, there's a lot of drinks going to be bought. Okay. How many first years? Right. How many second years? Well, second year's winning so far. How many third years? How many final years? Or is second year final year these days? Okay. Yep. Back in my day, they put us through another year. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, back when I started, you couldn't study photography in Western Australia at university level. There was only ever TAFE level until fairly recently. In Victoria, I think they had the Melbourne Institute of Technology. I think you could do it, RMIT. And I think there's unis now that do it. Is that right, Steve? PSC, yeah. Yep. Right, yep. Yeah, so for all you students out there, I think one of the most important things in your career is don't live in a vacuum. Keep communicating with each other when you graduate. That's important. And definitely consider joining the AIPP. The majority of photographers there are always willing to share their knowledge and point you in the right direction, or work as, or act as a mentor and what have you for you. It's definitely something which has helped me throughout my career, and I think anyone sitting up here that you see, Steve and what have you, would all agree with that. Thanks, John. Oh, Rachel, yeah, come back in if you don't mind. So, what are we going to do? Hand them a piece of paper, are we?
I'll just go on.
Okay, guys, we've had to reset the whole kit and caboodle, so we're going to judge this one manually. So as Sue goes along, if you could just whisper a score into her ear. So if we could just have the print back, please. So do you need a few more minutes just to consider this before Sue goes down the line? Okay. Thanks, Sue. It is a silver award at 84. It's a majority 84. Johannes, could you make comment about the work? Thanks.
Okay, it's really creative thinking and handling of this one. The lighting on the face and the hair flowing in the wind is really quite beautiful. But however, there's some details in the neck that's missing. It looks a bit disjointed. I think if you look into that, for the author, I think that'd be probably go a lot higher than.
Okay, thank you. So we're okay. We're actually going to go now into Illustrative. This is the Illustrative proper. Next print, please. Print scores 79. Okay, yes, Steve, you'd like to make comment?
To the photographer, definitely keep up this technique. When a technique like this is used, the highlights keep compounding upon one another, and that's where you're sort of losing the detail. So if you can bring that back, but yeah, good effort.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Obviously, we've lost a little bit of time, judges, so we just need to, without being slapdash, we just need to push it along a little bit. When I ask for a comment from here on in, if we could make them quite short, just see if we can just catch up a little bit of time, but go straight to the jugular in respect to what needs to happen to the print. Okay, thank you. Next print, please. Silver award, 82. If I could get Rebecca, just a couple of quick comments.
Yeah, the colour palette on this is really beautiful, and yeah, I like how you can almost sort of see a bird in there, or it's abstract enough that you can take your own little meanings out of it. So well done to the photographer.
Lovely. Next print, please. Okay, print score was 79. And we have a challenge from Gary, who's scored this silver with distinction at 86. I'll accept that challenge. And when you're ready, Gary.
So we have this lady who's in her own bubble, her own world, doing a selfie of herself and being all glamorous with this surrounding very drab sort of landscape with this cynical screwed up plastic bottle discarded underneath her. If Illustrative is illustrating an idea or a thought, this is just a great little thought bubble. It's so simple that and technically very good executed, that and the message so simply conveyed. I think it's above and beyond professional practice, so I gave it a silver distinction.
Okay, Steve, you're on 77.
To me, and perhaps this is what the photographer wanted, but to me the actual narrative is a little bit disconnected. I felt that I struggled to actually figure out what the visual communication was. I do think technically it has been handled well, however, in terms of perhaps adding depth in lighting and that those sort of technical aspects, perhaps that could have been improved upon. I scored it strong professional practice. I am kind of willing to come up, so I'm open to hearing other people's thoughts.
Thanks. Johannes, you're on. You've scored this silver at 83.
Yep, I'm a solid 83. I totally got the communication. I think it's a really superb visual communication, because you totally get, with the plastic bottle, she's living in her own bubble on the phone, not aware of what happens all around us. And for that, really good. And I if there's a couple of technical things, I'd be totally, I would have already been in the silver distinction range. It's just like there's just little details like shadows on, or like a spot of sun on her foot, the lighting on her face. And the sun obviously with the shadow comes from above, which could have been changed. And I think if that's would have been taken care of, I'd be totally in the silver distinction range. So I'm still thinking about if I'm gonna come up or not, but I'd like to hear more thoughts, please. Thanks.
Well, you'll certainly hear from Gary again. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that the light come from behind, but that could be reflected off the inside of the bubble from the sun. But also the shadow of the bubble, is the details that have been taken care of. I kept on building upon the shadow of the bubble is integrated into the grass as well, and the restrained quality of the background. There's nothing bright or saturated. It's the perfect separation from the bright Hollywood glamorous self-absorbed image that she is. So, it's simple and it's restrained, but the message is very clear and colourful. I'd come up a few points. Silver distinction, I think it's worth.
Okay, Gary, you hold your score. Everyone else is free to rescore the print. '83 Silver Award. Next print, please. Printers a silver award at 80. Rachel, could you just make a quick couple of comments, please?
Yeah, this is a really enjoyable image. I really enjoyed that. Even though it's blurry, there's still anchor points, and there's a very strong narrative. You know, the little house that time forgot, but there's you can almost sense people and presence moving through it. It's a very beautiful piece of communication.
Thank you. Next print, please. Print scores silver award at 84. Could I get, let me see, Gary, just to make a couple of comments, please.
Getting in closer, my opinion of this piece just went up and up. The photographer perhaps could think about having the vignetting a little bit less obvious.
Thank you. Next print, please. This print is a silver award at 81. Steve, could you make comment, please?
Yeah, I do have to commend the photographer for choosing like a duotone polarized effect. It does still communicate quite well. It has a sense of mystery and tone. So well done.
Next print, thank you. Print score was 78. Rachel, could you make a comment? Thanks.
I desperately wanted to love this. I love the little boy's expression. I think in order for it to go higher, because I do believe it could go into an award, just the blacks are so heavy on the right there, and just there's so much rich detail. I can almost sense it there. Just handling, and I think you've got something quite beautiful.
Thank you. Next print, please. Print is a silver award at 81. Steve, could you like to make a comment, please?
Yeah, yet again, well done to the photographer. I think that this is a strong visual piece in terms of showing the chronological time of an apple and its demise, basically. So well done.
Thank you. Next print, please. Print score was 77. And I think we've got a challenge from Gary, who's scored this 83. I'll accept that. Off you go, Gary.
Well, at first it's a slightly amateurish looking shot, but when you come in, it's obviously, there's Snow White. There she is, lying there. And it's funny. It made me laugh. And there she is, plonked with the apple down there. And who would expect that to be Snow White lying there with an apple? So as far as just making me laugh, and technically it's good. Snow White's not obvious until you walk up to it. I think it's a silver. I think it's worth a silver.
Okay, I think Rachel would like to have a little say. Thanks.
I don't enjoy being on the negative side, but I think for me, Snow White was quite obvious to me, Gary, and I didn't find the humour that you did. I feel in order to be pushed into an award, the photographer's voice has to come in. I feel like this was too literal a representation of what actually happened in the fairy tales, but I think if there had been some kind of extra element of quirk that the photographer's voice was visible, I would have pushed it up a little bit higher, but for me it was just a little bit too same as the real story.
Okay, Johannes.
Okay, I also like the quirky nature of this photo. I think a square crop the things on the right hand side. If you crop that off, I think that would hold it much better together. I think also with the lighting, I mean, it's sort of sunlight seems to be quite harsh. It seems a little like if it'd be more directional, a bit more like, later in the day, still adding with the shadow. I quite like that shadow and the hand coming out, but I think technically, shooting-wise, there's a fair bit you can improve. And I encourage the author to trying to get a better capturing camera and really think about light and how you can use light and then do the processing. As in regards whether I'm going to come up to silver, I don't think I can with the technical things in mind, unfortunately.
Thank you. Right reply, thanks, Gary.
Yeah, so I think with regards to how to improve this image, it would be a little bit more, perhaps you could afford to go a little bit more vignetting around the right and the bottom, just to draw the focus into that apple core. It hasn't hit the other judges haven't responded how I have, but I stick to my silver. I think it's quirky and fun, and I like the slightly amateurish, the amateurish way that this has been shot, even though it's been shot in a professional way.
Yep. Good. Okay, judges rescore. Gary, you hold your score. Thank you. Print score 77. Thank you. Next print, please. Sprint score is 79. Yes, we have a challenge from Rachel, who's on 84.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this image. It's the kind of image you can sort of stare at for ages and sort of lose yourself, and kind of it's almost meditative in its quality. It's like a magic eye. You just want to keep looking and finding a pattern, but nothing really seems to have a pattern. And then you kind of go back to the start and say, surely there's a pattern, because it looks like there should be a pattern, but there's not a pattern. And it's kind of confusing. It's kind of intriguing, and the tonal quality is beautiful. Just the colours alone, just the subtle greys and whites and blacks. I find really calming and peaceful, and I really enjoy looking at this image. And so because of that, I awarded this a silver, because that's what I'm told to do here. Like, it sort of exceeds that normal professional practice, and I really just want to keep looking at this for all the elements of design and quality and tonal range, and just to try and figure out where the balance is. But it's beautiful. It's fun to look at.
Okay, thank you. Steve.
Yeah, look, there are elements that I agree with. And I do feel that this image is interesting. It does actually have a flow, and there is a rhythm to it. However, there's also a disharmonious sort of rhythm with it as well, in terms of the sort of blocks that are on the left. Obviously, these are being kept in intentionally. However, they're drawing me away from that rhythm that has been created. I feel that this image has set the stage for something that isn't quite presented there yet.
Okie doke. Just wondering if Johannes, if you could make comment. Thanks.
Thanks. I'm glad you asked me. Yeah, I think Steve's right on the money. I think it's a great stage. I think if this image had another element, I mean, I'd totally crop it on the left too, to keep it symmetrical, at least more balanced. And if there's another element in there, and this is illustrative, and you can you can introduce other elements. Um, a face behind the window or whatever you can dream up. I think that really would could go a lot higher. And the sharpening, it looks a little soft to me. I think if the image would have been more sharpened, I think it would, in my opinion, definitely improve it. I'm up with silver already. So yeah, I think it's the graphic elements and there's elements in it that lend it to silver. I think it's definitely in the silver range, and I think doesn't need to be high silver, but I think silver's good for that.
Thanks, Johannes. Rachel?
Yeah, thanks, Johannes. I really enjoyed talking about this image with you guys. And I agree with everything that you've said, and even you, Steve, even you. But I think for all the reasons that we've discussed, I think it is still deserving of a silver award to encourage the author to keep pushing this kind of work and maybe to encourage new elements, which will then create work that challenge that even further. But as it is right now, I do believe it is deserving of a silver award for all of the reasons we've discussed. So.
Okay, Rachel, you hold your score. Everyone else is free to rescore the print. Well, there you go. Silver award at 81. So that's how it works. Well done. Thank you. Next print, please. Printers a silver award at 81. Yes, thanks, Steve. Yes.
Yeah, well done to the photographer. A couple of things to bear in mind in order to help this image is just burning in or sort of starting to remove the brightness from the actual chair. And the content's great. It's very cinematic. Just perhaps start creating a little bit more mood in post-production.
Thank you. Next print. Print score is 79, and we have a challenge from Johannes, who scored it 84. Thank you.
Okay. I think there's I think this is a silver image. I actually thought of going higher, as in silver distinction range. But there's a couple of things. I mean, I shouldn't point out the bad stuff. That's your job, right? I love the butterfly effect. You know, that paper or whatever that is. It looks a bit like, you know, butterflies swirling around her. Yeah, I think it's really graphically it's beautiful. The color palette is really quite beautiful. The texture in the background from the trees, it's really well done. You know, it's a couple of things, but I think this is a silver image, and I encourage you to really have another look at it and see if you hopefully come with me in the silver range.
Steve?
Yeah, I so wanted it to go higher. I so wanted to actually award it higher. There is a true disconnect between the actual depth of the lighting within perhaps the three elements being the butterflies or the paper. For me, the little girl is too flatly lit, and it just rips me out of the actual reality that they're trying to create. So perhaps working on the depth of lighting, this would have elevated it for me.
Okay, who else would like to make comment? Anyone? Yeah, thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, I really loved the concept of this. I feel like it's a bit bright. Like I feel if the background feels to me really moody, and I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect between the subject and the background, and if they could be blended to, you know, sort of really take you in there and not sort of hold you back at that sort of where the petals or love hearts hit the ground. I reckon that would really take it to the next level.
Okay, thanks, Johannes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not asking for silver distinction. I'm asking for 1 point up in the range. It's quite beautiful as such. You know, the color palette is quite beautiful. I said it before. Just have another look at and see what you can do. Thank you.
Okay, so it's currently sitting on 79. So, Johannes, you hold your score, and other judges are free to rescore. Okay. Print stays at 79. Next print, please. Print score is 77. And we have a challenge from Gary, who scored it 82.
Yeah, at first glance, it seems to be, you know, in the 78, 77 range, except when you start to look at these expressions and the communication going on between each of those couples is spot on. It's superbly done. The connection between those individuals is exactly where it should be. It's quite campy. I mean, if you look at it from I don't know how to update campy into today's sort of word. What would that be? Fun, flamboyant, gay. tongue in cheek. It's fun. It's a little soft, but who cares? You know, the tone in the background is almost monochrome, and it's like a stage set. I think it's just a wonderful feeling in there. It just puts a smile on my face. So I'm not asking for a silver distinction, just a humble silver.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay. Excuse me. Look, you're right. The expressions are there. I think the photographer captured that beautiful, decisive moment. However, the lighting is what really kind of falls short for me. That strong overhead mixed lighting that's happening, and I do feel that the photographer just couldn't get back far enough in order to capture everything as well. So you're right. The expressions are great, but without all those technical aspects and softness. I do believe it's kind of heading towards that professional practice, but I can't give it a silver at this stage.
Say about softness, it's just an excuse. It's easily judged, but it's got nothing to do with art, and this is far more artistic. And I think the photographer has captured in very tight circumstances with available light. He or she's done an excellent job. So I think we can disregard those ones.
Okay. Gary, you hold your score. Everyone else is free to rescore the print. Print score was 78. Next print, please. We're currently judging the illustrative category. And I'm pretty sure it's sponsored by C.R. Kennedy. Thank you to C.R. Kennedy. Silver award at 82. And could I get, let's have a look, probably Rebecca, just to make comment, please.
I really enjoyed this image. I think all the elements are photographed really well. And I love how it's presented. It looks like a tea towel that my mum would buy me, and I love it. And I just think it's really enjoyable to look at, and it's unique and really lovely.
Yeah, Steve, just a quick one. Thanks.
Yeah, just one way to elevate it. Give us something that's completely unexpected too. Like one little element that we can discover and go, "Ooh, what's that?"
Good. Yep, sure. Thanks. John, could you... Next print, thank you. Print score 78. Can I get Rebecca just to make comment?
Yeah, I can see there are some technical things in this print that didn't take me higher, but I thought the idea and the narrative behind it, and it's something very unique, and the key character was interesting enough for me to be in a award area.
Thank you. Next print, thank you. Guys, just a slight little technical issue we just need to sort out. Won't be a moment. If we're ready at the back, we can have the next print. Thanks. Printers a silver award at 80. Yes, Steve, you gave it an 83. Would you like to make a comment how this might be improved upon?
Yeah. I think the photography, in order, if they wanted to get it higher, is to make some very deliberate decisions in regards to what's straight, what's horizontal, things like that. Just delicate things like the placement of fingers and elements like that can really help. Also, the toes needs a little bit more breathing room and things like that, just to allow the image to breathe.
I think that's what you were about to say, Rachel, is that right?
Yeah, quick comment about posing. Hands and feet can say a lot, and there's a lot of body language that's very elegant in this image. But if you're going to shoot like this again, it's amazing that you've got the degree of difficulty to do this, so just be super aware of toes and hands. That's the only thing letting it down for me.
Thank you. Next print, please. Okay, print score is 79. Yes, so we have a challenge from Steve, who scored at 86. I accept that. Off you go, Stephen.
Okay, a strong bit of visual communication, which is elegantly and beautifully handled. This character is now lost within her stories and her books to a sense of weightlessness. Granted, I didn't go higher because there were perhaps elements that were a little bit too bland, like the top left, for example, which could have allowed enough space for even more storytelling. However, I do feel that it's a silver distinction. Take another look. It's really exquisitely lit and constructed.
Thank you. Let me see. Rachel, you're at 78.
Yeah, I hate being at the bottom. I love this for its concept and for the idea of it. I love it to pieces. I think it's a really powerful piece of communication. The thing that let it down for me, and I didn't bring it into an award, was the texture in the background almost becomes a distracting element. It doesn't add to the story. It kind of muddies it for me. Like the things that you enjoy about the lighting, Steve, I'm finding I'm being pulled back into the mud of things. I'm sort of staying in this non-otherly world that she's supposedly in, just because she's levitating. It's not enough to keep me in that realm because there are so many distracting elements. But I love the idea of it.
Rebecca.
I was up there with Steve. I was 85. I love the idea of, you sort of being lifted and transported to another place. I do agree. I would probably be higher if it wasn't for that left-hand side, which is a little bit. It's twofold. There's a little bit of grain, muddiness and stuff, but you got so much you could use. Like pick one of the stories that she's going into and put a little bit of that kind of, take you off there. But just as it is, it's beautifully executed. I think it's the shadow underneath. I believe it. It's a good, believable story.
Okay. Right reply. Thanks, Steve.
Now, perhaps that texture is the actual texture of the pages of the book, which allows it all to be tied together beautifully. Drop the mic.
Okay, well, seeing the mic has been dropped, you stay where you are. Thanks, Steve. And everyone else is free to rescore the print. Silver award at 83. Well done. Next print, please. Okie dokie, here we go. Wait for it, wait for it. Print scores 89, and we have a challenge. I take it from Steve, who was on a gold at 93. I accept your challenge, Steve. Now, you're not alone, I can tell you.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. This image is silky. There are a few images that actually start triggering other sensory sort of things like smell and touch. This is one of these images where you literally do feel the actual texture of the petals, and the colour is beautiful. Even the matte and the presentation is distinctly faded. It's almost botanist in terms of its study. However, it's just so exquisite. Really, really take another close look. This is a gold.
Okay. Now, everyone scored it as an award of some denomination, but the person at the other end is John. You're on 83.
I hear what you say, Steve. It is a beautiful image. It is very botanical, but in its presentation as a botanical piece, I find it falls apart where the stamens are fading out towards the right hand side, and there's a lot of movement in it. It's almost as if it's blowing in the wind and someone's looking through a window. It's a beautiful image. The colours handled well, but I'm still in the silver distinction range. I'm not quite sure if it's worth the gold, but I do hear what you're saying.
Right, I'd like to hear from. Let's have a look. From Gary, who's also on gold.
Whoever the photographer is, they're a true artisan of the craft. Because it's quite rare to grab the image but also present it in the most perfect way it could be presented. And that is the little soft vignette shadow that goes around the creamy actual print. That gives it that silky tactile sort of feel to it, and the blurriness of the leaves add to the movement and the soft ethereal glow and the perfect oval. In my book, it's without question a gold. However, I understand that we all see things differently, but I'd encourage you to come up. Where are we sitting at now?
Okay, we're right on the razor's edge. Okay, we're on 89. 1 point we're looking at.
Okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's it.
Yep.
I'll put the mic down.
Rightio. So, Steve.
Yes, and just getting back to John's comments, that's the reason I love it. That movement, that out of focus element that's coming through, that's what actually gives it that other sense that's kind of triggering all these other things. It is only 1 point, and I do feel that it is worthy of a strong gold at that.
Okay, you hold your score, Steve. Now everyone else is free to re-score the print. We have a gold award at 91. Well done. Next print, please. Print score is 78. And can I get Rachel just to make comment, please?
Yeah, I love this image. It's a beautiful little shot. I actually scored it into the silver range, but I understand why my colleagues here haven't. It's just lacking a little bit of sharpness in the eye and the nose. I think that it has to be super razor sharp because it's so simplistic in its monochromaticness. And maybe just watch some of the details in his little jaw jowls there would have been maybe a little bit enhancing. So, great shot though.
Thank you. Next print, please. Gary, have you press go? Thank you. Print score is 76. And can I get John just to make comment on how it might be improved?
Essentially, it's not a bad composition, but I just find that in areas the colours are blowing out, and that weakens it incredibly.
Next print, thank you. Okay, print score is 76. Could I? Yes, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, I think this image has great content. The subject's lit well. However, the post-production and the printing really does let this image down. So if you could work on that, just an example would be to keep the deepest blacks consistent throughout all the elements once you put it together in a composite.
Thank you. Next print, thank you. Print is a silver award at 81. Let me see. Rebecca, could you make comment on how this might be improved?
Well, it's hard, I suppose, with an abstract to know how to improve it. I think it has a beautiful mood to it. I do get dragged down a little bit to that bottom left-hand part. I think maybe if that was blended into the tones of the right, I would probably take me a little bit higher.
Thank you. Next print, thank you. Print score is 76. And can I get, let me see, Gary, just to make a comment, please?
I think if the ways to improve this image is the blacks a little bit sort of burnt in around the edge of the girl. If you can get the blacks a little bit more uniform. Also, I'd like to see a little bit more expression on the face that conveyed what was actually happening.
Thank you. Next print, thank you. Next print, thank you. Print score was 74, and I'd like to get, thanks, Steve.
Yeah, look, I do have to commend the photographer to keep exploring this concept. Things to look out for is cropping, but keep on going with that play on textures. Also, if you can start to include a little bit of a narrative, whether that be in terms of posing or some kind of story, I think you're well on the way.
Thank you. Next print, thank you. Print is a silver award at 84, and we have a challenge from Rachel, who has given this a gold at 90. Thank you.
Yes. This image, I think you used the word silky before, Steve. I'm going to use the word milky this time. It feels kind of like this concretey, milky. There's this juxtaposition between very grey, lifeless kind of vibe, but this very alive plant, even though its roots are outside of the pot. It's very unusual and it's very aesthetically interesting to me, and I'm just really enjoying this as a piece of work, and I can see this on a gallery. I can see this as a book cover, and I think this is a really beautiful representation of the category that we're judging. Like this is quite ambiguous, yet it's very universal. Like it could serve a whole lot of purposes in illustrating any number of concepts or ideas or thoughts, and it's beautifully handled. I love the play of texture. There's exquisite detail in the little veins of the leaf at the top left, and then right down to the little roots, and I'm enjoying the number of shades of grey there are in there, and I find this image very intriguing and powerful and quite delightful.
Thank you. Gary, you're still in the award category, but down at 83.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught between technicalities and the illustrative quality of the image. And the illustrative quality of the image, as you point out, is very strong. The technicalities that just brought it back for me, and I am a photographer, and this is a photograph, and we're judging that, is the little bit of the oversharp. I mean, it's great, beautiful detail, but there's the black lines around the leaves at the top just look a bit over-sharpened, or something's happening there. And the black in the leaf on the left-hand side at the top is too strong for the rest of the image, and it's very pedantic, but they're the things that pulled it back for me.
Steve.
Yes, this image kind of stumped me a little bit. I love it deeply. However, there are elements where I just feel that it is being let down. For example, I've gone up and checked it a couple of times. There's some little marks on the pot, which just draws me down to them and stops me going to that egg-shaped, I think it is actually an egg, which confuses me more, but I don't mind that. I love being confused. It's good. So there's little elements like that which are either left in there on purpose or perhaps carelessly missed. I'm not too sure. But either way, that distraction just kind of pulls me away. But I am listening.
Rachel.
Yeah, look, I love that we've got to talk about this image in the way that we have, and this is the beauty of the system. I love being confused, and I think that's what I'm enjoying so much about this image, which has kind of pushed me into that category, because confusion isn't usually an emotion that we feel comfortable with, and we kind of brush it off, but to sit comfortably in the confusion is a really nice experience, and what I'm rewarding the author for as well. So there's a lot of that going on. The technicalities, pedantic is probably a good word, but also I understand where you're coming from, Gary, so I appreciate your technical eye there as well. But I'm staying with my gold to reward this author for something completely unique and a little bit bamboozling and quite delightful.
Okay, Rachel, you hold your score. Everyone else is free to rescore the print. Print is now silver with distinction at 86. Well done. Next print, thank you. Print scores 78. Can I get Rebecca to make a comment, please?
Yeah, I saw this 79 because I think it has real potential. I get very distracted by the arms. I feel if you took them out and left it more just the middle part and gave a bit more room at the top, I think that would just give it an elegance. But I think there's a lot of intrigue in here, and I think there's total potential.
Thank you. Just going to have a judge change for a moment. Gary, if you could take a rest, and I'll bring Johannes in, thanks. Thanks to Gary. Next print, please. Print is a silver award at 83. We have a challenge. Yes, lovely. We have a challenge from Johannes, who scored this a silver with distinction at 88.
Yeah, my kind of image. Yeah, I love this. It's got beautiful painterly texture throughout. It's even got detail in a couple of spots, which is really beautiful. I also love the third element, that man in there, which sort of elevates it, I think, to silver distinction and not just a mere pretty image. Yeah, congratulate the author. I think they've done it really well. It's been beautifully handled. Colors are beautiful. The red bounces off nicely with the green. And I encourage you to have another look and reward the author for creativity and thinking outside the box. And just a beautiful painterly image that they captured.
Okay, now everyone scored it in an award category, but down at the other end of the equation is Rebecca.
I really did like this image. I actually sometimes struggle with the movement images, and for me this is a really good one. I love the human element. That probably gives me a little bit more, and maybe I was being a bit harsh. I do like how the colour tone of the orange or red sort of brings you into the focus point. Yeah, so I'm willing to hear a story maybe. Or, you know.
Yes, Steve.
To me, I did award it a good solid silver. I feel in order for it to be elevated into that next level, there needed more tonal depth, whether that be towards the background and then the foreground. The printing, in terms of at least the details in the background, are falling away and falling apart. And for me, that's a technical issue that I can't overlook.
Okay, Johannes, write a reply. Thank you.
Okay, write a reply. Difficult. Yeah, just have a look at it. Enjoy the mystery, not knowing what's going on, and you know that looked beautiful in anybody's house, big on the wall, and I think it's you know, I'd like to see this in a silver distinction range for the creativity that's shown and then beautiful handling. Thank you.
Good. So it's currently on 83. Johannes, you hold your score. Everyone else is at liberty to rescore the print. Okay. It has gone up a couple of points and is now silver at 84. Good day. Well done. Next print, thank you.
Thanks, judges. My name's Steve. I'm filling in. I'll be your Greg Hocking for a little while, if that's all right. We have an average score of 85 for this print. So all the hands gone up, Steve. So Steve Scalone would like to challenge. He's on a healthy 93 points.
Yes, and I feel that's exactly where it belongs. Obviously. Have another look at this gorgeous image. As soon as it pops around, the impact, like you're looking through and into another world, through this Hobbit-like window. Look at the story that's constructed. Have a look at that gentleman or that being walking along that little pathway, that slight subtle lone tree on the left. Likewise, the only reason I didn't actually give it a gold distinction or even higher is because we did lose just that little bit of detail up on top of the window there. So sure, it does have those technical kind of aspects, but the storytelling, look at the palette that's being used. But when images like this start coming around, you start to lose meanings and words and articulation and all that type of thing. So, really have a look at this image. It really is a gold standard.
Thank you, Steve. We have Beck and Rachel. Beck, do you want to have a chat to the print, please?
I gave this a silver distinction for all those reasons. It is just beautiful. You almost want to go through, you really want to almost go, get rid of that and just look at the picture. But that's what's gorgeous. That's what's illustrative about it. I honestly, it was probably the detail loss in the top that kept me from goal, but I think it's absolutely exquisite.
Thanks, Beck. Johannes, you're down the other end at 81 at the moment.
I would have loved to come up. There's a couple of technical issues that held me back, just with the highlights, and around the trees there's sort of haloish, foggy thing going on, and just the composition too on the inside of the image. Just like, I would have liked to see that person a bit closer towards the round circle, and the tree on the left is sort of a little bit squashed there. It's just those sort of things held me back from going higher, but I totally get where you come from, and I'll give it another thought. Thanks.
Okay, John, you just want to say a quick word before we go back to Steve?
I think when you first look at it, it's pleasing. It's great, like everyone's described. But I think if you're going to, looks like two images have been sandwiched together in the background. You've got autumn in the foreground and spring in the background. That to me lets it down. Illustrative, you should pay attention to that sort of detail.
Thanks, John. All right, Steve, bring it home.
Point taken. To me, though, I think the elegance within the storytelling is, I guess, what I'm awarding here. And that palette that is used, perhaps that is its own journey within the story anyway. If you look right on the horizon, there's a couple of buildings, almost castle-like, that are right up in that spring type thing. So I do believe that there is a stronger story there that will develop over time the longer we look at it.
Thank you, Steve. If you like to hold your score on 93, it's currently on 85, judges. If you could rescore. Congratulations, author. That's an 87. It's moved up 2 points to a strong silver distinction. Great discussion, guys. Thank you for that. We'll go to the next print, please. Thank you, judges. Thanks, judges. This image scores an 81, silver award. Johannes, can I have a quick comment from you, please?
Yeah, love it. Just like your everyday teenager, right? I love the storytelling in this image, with the snakes and the temptation of digital multitasking, being busy all the time, and the freaking out nature. I think really solid effort. Just watch your highlights a little bit and maybe brighten the face and the hair, just a bit more detail in there would be awesome.
Thanks, Johannes. We'll accept that and we'll go to the next print, please. For those out in live stream and those here, they're in the middle of judging the illustrative category for the WA ARPP Epson Professional Photographer of the Year Awards. This category is sponsored proudly by CR Kennedy, so thanks to those guys. They're national sponsors, so they would sponsor this, possibly this category in every other state. But I don't think they do. I think they actually sponsor another one, and only in WA they're different. But they help out in every state. So if you're confident about your scores, guys, rack them in so we can keep moving along. We've got a lot to get through. Thanks, folks. This image scores an average of 83, solid silver award. Yeah, go on, Steve. Quick comment.
Really do have to commend the photographer. If anybody, or once this actually ends up going on the wall, have a close look at it. It's actually separate pieces of cut paper, beautifully put together. So yeah, well done.
Thanks for that, Steve. A lot of the crew can't see this close up, so it's a good tip. We'll accept 83 and we'll move on to the next print, please. Thank you, judges. This image scores 75. Professional practice. Would anyone like to offer a comment? Thanks, Johannes.
Okay, I mean, I love those blurry images, as most of you know. It just needs a bit more detail, as in succinct detail. I see a bull and some riders and some things up the top, but it's not distinctive enough. You really need to bring out those elements a bit more for us to have something to grab on to go higher. Colour palette's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Johannes. Steve, would you like to have a break? You've been working pretty hard. You're in for the long haul today. So, Gary, could I get you back on the panel, and I'll hand you back to the statesman-like Greg Hocking.
Yes. Next print, please. Print score is 77. Can I get a comment from John?
The interesting thing about this image is that you've got a big negative shape or space on the left, which helps define the positive, and that is the gentleman we're looking at about to cross the road, and it's a very bold move by the photographer to use that to highlight what you're meant to be looking at.
Yes, following
Okay.
Johannes.
I think this image would be stronger if you crop out all the brightness on the right. Just keep it like dark with the figure standing there. I think so. For Apple, I'm not sure if it gets up to award level, but I think it'd be a strong image that way.
Sure. That's good advice. Next print, thank you. Okay, we have a silver with distinction at 85. And we have, press it, if you like. Yeah, we have a challenge from John Woodhouse, who scored this a gold at 90. I'll accept that.
I think this is bringing something completely new to the table, the way it's presented. I don't know if you guys can see at the back, all those squares are interwoven. It's an interwoven paper. It's obviously a strelitzia, which is a type of flower. People call it a bird of paradise. It does have the look of a bird or a butterfly from far away. It's beautifully handled. The colours are magnificent, and the way I suppose this is a craftsman that's done this, a photographer. It's so well put together. The balance of colours, the composition is beautiful. It's just so new and so exquisite. I think it's definitely worth looking at a gold.
Okay, probably need to call on, Rachel.
Yeah, I'm down the bottom at 78 with some leanings towards an award, and I guess I treated this like I would with a texture or any other added element into a photograph. Does it enhance or detract from the actual image? And to me, this technique, although I love it and it's exquisite and I think it's beautiful, I don't believe that it enhances this image at all. And if it was just this image by itself, would it still be an award image? I don't know if it would be. And so I'm kind of looking at it holistically from all of the different elements, and together I didn't think that the woven paper was enough to pull it into an award for me.
Okay, Johannes?
I agree with you both. So I'm sitting at 88. And when I heard John talking, I thought, I'm up in gold already. Then I see what Rachel said, because I thought too, like the actual image, the content, and the whites. If you take the amazing creativity with the presentation, why would it still be in gold? But it's also, if that would be in gold, it'd be a gold distinction, I think, for me. I really need to think about this a little more and hear some other thoughts. But I hear you both.
Okay. Anyone else like to make comment? Yes, go. Yeah.
Okay, I love seeing this technique and have thought about this technique for a while myself. And I know how extremely difficult it is to combine it all and get all the edges right, so that you cut through this stuff and you've got to colour the edges of the material so that it's not all white edges. It's very difficult, but I think the photographer's trying to get fool with our brains a little bit by showing two images, and to be able to flash backwards and forwards between the two, depending on which one you choose to see. And I think that they have let that down a bit because it's just a bit confusing to me. And I'm confused by the imagery. I can see one image, but I don't know what the other one is. But at the same time, I really want to encourage and congratulate the photographer for trying so hard with the technique.
Anyone else like to make comment? Yep.
I just think that this is something I've never seen before. And yes, there's a huge level of difficulty. But I kind of like the weaving, because you're weaving two images together. So it's and then there's that third element of it actually being weaved as well. So you're getting a bit of the flowers getting mixed up from the black as well. And so, I find it sort of, I see the point of why it's used that technique, even though I've never seen it before, which I think is also very clever.
Okay, lovely. Write a reply. Thanks, John.
Okay, I've heard all your comments. I mean, the other way you can look at this image, first when you see it, it could be the side of a building with some reflection in it. It's so good for this category, illustrative, because this person's illustrating a flower bloom in a completely different manner. It's showing it as a texture. Even you could look at it as a woven texture. It's the colours are. I think the colours are really handled well. I think it's so unique and so bold of the person to go down this track. I think it's definitely worth looking up at gold.
Okay, John, you hold your score. Everyone else is free to rescore the print. It's currently on 85. Printers are gold at 90. Great debate, good discussion. Well done, judges. Next print, please. Print score is 79. Can I have a comment from John, please?
When you walk up to this image, it's you don't know whether you're looking at a product or an alien. You don't quite know what to look at first. I think it's very strong points. It's unusual. It has a few technical weaknesses in some areas where the print gets a little bit muddy, and especially the right arm, I'd say, is a big distraction, and it sort of fades into nothing.
Thank you. Next print, thank you. This print score is 78. And can I have a comment from Johannes?
Personally, I love this kind of imagery. As an award judge, I couldn't go to 80 just because of a few technical things, like maybe a bit more detail in the shadows, and I think a matte paper would suit this print a lot better. I'm also not sure about the negative spice up the top. I get the story of it, but maybe there's something the author can, have another element there that relates to the story.
Thank you. Next print, please. Silver award at 80. John, could this be improved in any way in your mind?
I would say to the photographer, keep exploring this avenue. I would say when you're looking at it from far away as a piece of art, maybe the right-hand side is a little bit too dark. Maybe just lift that a little bit and maybe center the person. It's slightly weighted towards the left.
Thank you. Next print, please. Print score is 76. And I'd like to get Gary just to comment on how this might be improved.
Yeah, like this is a definite award with a few improvements, and I gave it 76, but I would have automatically gone into 83 because it gives the illusion of being mountains and clouds, and you walk up and you see the blue there. The photographers put the blue in there to show that it's water, but then we're let down with the technical side, the filled-in shadows and some funny lines and sharpening stuff that's happening there. So that's what I would try and address in the future.
Thank you. Next print, please. Print score is 77. We have a challenge from Gary, who scored this silver at 82.
Yeah, initially that was my first impression because it looked a bit wishy-washy, and but as you walk up to it, there's so many elements in there. It looks like an X-ray of someone's teeth, and then I can't figure out what's going in there. It's a mirror reflection, obviously, but looking at the tones, I'm reminded of it's a lovely watercolor feel. A few things let it down. It's this sort of thing. I think it has to be really micro detailed, pin sharp, so that you can see all those subtle little textures. But I think it's worth a silver. So I'll just ask you to come up a few points.
Rachel, you're down on the lower end of the spectrum.
I know, and I don't like it, but I think if I was to push it into an award, I wouldn't be true to myself. And there are too many elements that I think keep it in the professional standard category. It feels very blown out in the highlights, and I don't believe that the line in the middle enhances the image at all. I think that confuses things a little bit, and maybe it's just adding elements to make it more interesting. But I feel that there was enough in there, if it had been exposed correctly, that would have led me to bring it into an award category without trying too hard. I think sometimes we can get carried away in this category with doing too much to images to make it more interesting when this already was.
John?
I agree with both of you, but I find that central line in the middle, it takes everything away from the image. You've got no focal point, and it's too wide. And I think if you were going to have it as a reflection, join it together, I think.
Okay. Gary, write a reply.
With Illustrative, it's what you like and what you don't like. There's no right and wrong, and who are we to say that you should do it this way or that? We can only say what we don't like, and I like it.
Good. Okay, that's fine. And having said that, you hold your score, Gary, and everyone else is free to rescore the print. Thank you. Print score 77. And thanks for the discussion. I'm sure that has helped the author. Next print, thank you. This print is a silver award at 81. And we have a comment from Rachel, who's on 83.
This is a super cool concept, and I think if this was to go further, which I do believe it could, if the author has a chance to reshoot this, I think white on white is super tricky, but it is so close to being like almost like completely blow your mind awesome. The thing with this, I think it's all about the expression in the eyes. Like, you're trying to create like this human trapped in a mannequin's body kind of feel. If you can get the eyes lit well and that's super sharp, so you're drawn into the human element of this piece, then I think you'll have something really strong. So I think keep working with this concept because it's pretty unique and powerful.
Thank you. Next print, please. Silver with a distinction at 85. Can I have comment from Rachel, please?
This is yummy. I love this because it's of a tree, but it feels fluffy and soft, and the movement, it has created this really textural kind of element. And the only thing pulling me back from gold are the two kind of spots of white in the middle and the spottlodge of black in the bottom. So if this is considering for APRA, I think just kind of work with some of those elements to keep that congruence of movement and flow so you don't get stuck in the middle on those kind of blobby bits.
Thank you. I'm just going to have a judge change. Rebecca, you've been there since day one. Yeah, and if Steve could come back on, thanks. Next print, thank you. Okay, here we go. Print scores 89. Yeah, thought that would happen. I'm going to accept that one from Rachel, who scored this a gold with distinction at 97. You're not alone, Rachel. Gary's with you. And everyone else is almost there. So, yeah, I think you're actually amongst friends.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that I'm amongst friends. Okie dokie. I have to take a big breath because, you know, like Steve before, you kind of get a bit like, I can't use my words. I'm so excited. I can't use my words. All I can say is that this is like a patchwork quilt of awesomeness. I don't know if I need any more. I can drop the mic just then and bring everyone up to gold distinction. But this image is so freaking cool. It's delightful. Like, even without a magnifying glass, which you'd think you'd need for something so tiny and intricate. You can see people having dinner and having a party and drinking cocktails, and this is the very newest piece of Perth, which is such a beautiful part. And it's almost like you can still see it's under construction, but there's things happening, and it's just so... Oh, gosh, I wish I could use my words right now. I'm just this is exciting. This is exciting, and I think that's why I can't talk. Even the clouds are like right angles, and I've never seen clouds like that, and I love that the clouds are like that. I mean, the author could have taken the clouds out, but it's just this beautiful newest square in town, and it's just beautiful because this is the feeling of that place. I think that's what's so exciting about this image, is that it's a party, and Yagan Square feels like a party. You can take over, Steve, because I'm losing my... But don't let that detract from my argument.
Before... let me look at this for a second. No, it's okay. I just want to make sure I'm picking... Yeah, that's fine, Steve. Off you go.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, look, after all of that wonderful babble that you did, I'm actually coming up with you. Because I got a sense of this place. I obviously had an inkling that perhaps it might have been Perth, but it was a very distinct feeling and energy that I got from this particular place, and it's illustrated beautifully. Incredibly beautifully, and it's sort of a dimension within a dimension within a dimension, and it's not symmetrical. It's not just like a kaleidoscope type thing. It's actually constructed like a tapestry. So yes, I guess me just coming on was perhaps not as enthusiastic as I should have been, but yeah, I'm definitely coming up gold distinction.
Well, Gary, would you like to say something? You're on a gold.
Oh yeah, I'm already there with the gold. It looks like an intricate jewel or a watch, and then you walk up to it, and I can't even figure out how it's been constructed. And I'm pretty good at these things. I'm pretty intricate myself, but it's very clever. I've seen this once before, and the photographer has improved vastly from there. So. Definitely gold and gold distinction.
Okay. So right reply. Thanks, Rachel. Not that you're going to need much, I don't think.
Look, do we need it? Do we need to hear more of my babble? No. Okay, John says no. Okay, here we go.
So no more babble. So please hold your score, and everyone else is free to rescore the print. Gold with distinction 96. You've just made someone very happy. Next print, please. We have a silver with distinction at 87. How could we take it higher, Rachel?
I was thinking about that actually, Gary. What I enjoy about this is that it could be on an art gallery wall, but then I think if it was on an art gallery wall, people might not know that it's photographical in nature, and I think that's kind of this interesting kind of in-between genre that this author has got going on here. It's very designy and elemental, and I think potentially just having an element of surprise in there somewhere, like there's a lot of repetition, but to have something that's just a little bit different would kind of just keep your eye searching.
Thank you. Next print, please. Sorry. Print score 78. Can I have a comment from Steve how this might be improved?
I can actually see what attracted the photographer to kind of construct this image and kind of go forward with it. The technical aspects do need to be looked upon in terms of printing. There's sort of artifacts that are starting to form in the sky, so really take care of them. And also the darkness that's happening on the left is perhaps pulling you away from that very bright exposure, which does need to be handled with the red light. But overall, good, strong professional standard.
Thank you. Next print, please. Silver award at 83. Gary, how might this be improved?
No, I admire the subtle way the tones have been handled, but I can't help but think that we could have a little bit more of saturation in the middle there.
Lovely. Next print, please. we have a silver award at 81. Yes, thanks, Steve. Yep.
Yeah, well done to the photographer. I feel in order to even strengthen the image is to even edit it further. So perhaps consider removing the moon, or at least cropping it out in some regard. I feel that the story will be a lot stronger then.
Right, thank you. Next print, please. Silver award at 83. Have a challenge from Steve, who's awarded this a silver distinction at 88.
Yeah, look, I would have agreed with a silver until I went up to it and I saw the depth and the texture that was created through the movement, which is almost impossible to see from a distance until you actually go up into it. It actually looks like a woven fabric of movement, which is... I may have had too much coffee, but it's true. Go up and have a look at it. Yeah, it really does kind of have so much more depth when you go into there. So initially, when I first saw it from here, it was like, yes, a silver. Until I went up there, it's like, wow, it does deserve more.
Well, most of the judges think that it's a solid silver, but down at the other end of the spectrum is Johannes on 77.
Yes, I really would like that detail in those textures that they put me off a little bit, because it looks like it's been photoshopped and doesn't seem very natural, which I'm kind of a bit more natural guy. There's also a couple of highlights that really sort of distract me, and I think if that image had a different color palette, I think that'd be hugely improved. I totally get the depth you're talking about, but there's just so many things that I was thinking, not really. That helped me off going even in award range. But I scored a solid professional practice, and I'm still listening.
Okay. Yeah, John. Yep.
I think it's I agree with Steve. I gave it a good solid silver. I think it's a true representation of a eucalypt forest. The colours, it's a forest that doesn't have leaves that change colour. The bark changes colour. It's showing movement. It's showing wind through there, and the depth makes you just wonder what's beyond. And to improve it, I think just control the highlights to a certain extent.
Steve?
Yeah, in response to the highlights, I actually think they've been beautifully handled. They have been brought right up to that limit just before they actually clip. And that deep, vibrant reds and greens actually really complement it, and that's what actually gives you the depth. That's what actually forces you to look beyond all that. So yeah, I do feel that it's been beautifully printed, well processed, and very deliberate.
Thank you. So Steve, you hold your score. Everyone else is free to rescore the print. Print is now a silver with distinction at 85. Next print, please. help. Can we just have a blank screen for a moment, thanks? Just a little technical issue. Okay, print scores 77. Can I have comment, let me see, from Rachel on how this might be improved? Oh, if we could have the print back, sorry.
I think this concept is really powerful. I think the only thing that's letting it down is the lighting. And we've got some nods here from the judges. There's a lot of dark, muddy blacks there. So keep playing with this because it's worthy.
Thank you. Next print, please. Print score 79. Can I have a comment from, let me see, Johannes, how this might be brought up to a silver?
Beautiful, beautiful color palette. I really love it. To improve, there's on the left side, there's a couple of elements that look a little jagged, like over sharpened. And compositional wise, I think if you look at a composition that's sort of keeps your eye within the frame, that probably think about cropping.
Thank you. Next print, thank you. Print score was 76. And can I get, let me see, Steve to comment how this might be improved, please?
Yeah. Look, I commend the photographer to keep going with this concept. Dragging the shutter can be really kind of fun and experimental and things like that. When you do this type of thing, though, please bear in mind that the depth of the shadows have gone to complete black. So think about bringing those back in. But yeah, definitely keep it up.
Thank you. Next print, please. Sprint score is 78. And can I get, let me see, Rachel, how can this be brought up to possible higher score?
I did actually score it in just sneaking into an award range at 80. But I think this is a very difficult image for us to judge, I think, and there's been a few kind of similar like this. And I think it's the left-hand side, maybe the arm brings it down. I actually really enjoyed the piece that looked like a weather map on her chest, and I enjoyed the elements of the two-facedness. So that's what brought it up for me. But in terms of improvement, yeah, I think keeping the elements that aren't part of the story as minimal as possible, because there's a lot going on.
Thank you. Next print, thank you. Sprint score is 78. Could I get a comment from, let's see, Gary, how this print might be improved?
Well, I gave it 78, which was professional practice. What drew me down was that the expressions weren't perhaps as authentic as they could be. So it was the expressions and the just failing to convince me of the story of this, the overburdened, stressed out mother down the bottom there.
Thank you. Next print, please. Sprint scores 84 and is a silver award. Could I have a comment from, let's see, Steve, how this might get up into the next category?
Yeah. Well, I actually gave it an 88. But if anybody has missed it, there's a yin and yang sign within the smoke just above the actual shells. One thing that didn't push me up into that gold range, which is where I wanted to head, was the actual line, the post-production that this photographer has done on the edges of the shells need to be kind of refined. And the actual blending in down the bottom where they actually are stuck into the sand. If you rectify that, it's gold.
Lovely. Next print, please. Rachel, have you pressed go? Yes. Thanks. It's all right. Silver award at 81. Let's have a look. If I could have a comment from Steve how this might be improved.
Yeah, look, I think the actual exposure and content has been handled beautifully. However, I guess we're looking for more in terms of a narrative.
Good. Next print, please. Print score was 78. Rachel, could you just comment on how we might improve this, please?
This expression is fabulous and the content is fabulous. The concept is great. Technicals is pulling it down, sharpening, lighting and muddiness in the bottom. But if you can fix those things, you've got something special going on.
Thank you. Next print, please. Print score 71, and I'll get Rachel to maybe make comment on how we might improve this.
I think the right-hand side is stronger than the left. There's just very bright and very darks in the left, but that shadowy figure is the most interesting piece in that, and maybe try shrinking the image. It's very confronting and big, and print handling. Yeah? Okay.
No, he was cropping. Thank you. Next print, please. This print is a silver award at 80. Yeah, quick comment. Thanks, Rachel. That'd be lovely.
this image is really delicate and subtle and soft and yummy and all of the things. To make it a little bit higher, just watch your post-production, especially on the skin and the face. It's just getting a little bit chunky in there, but otherwise it's quite beautiful.
Thank you. And if we have the next print, you'll find that there isn't one. So well done, everyone. If the judges could take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll pop back in here for our last category. Second last category. Oh.